Welcome to Beans Talk, M&J's podcast where we are sharing and showcasing our areas of expertise through conversations with practice leaders on their knowledge and experience.
Well, welcome back to Beans Talk, the podcast where we like to take big financial topics, hopefully break them down into helpful areas for businesses, families, communities, anybody that we're trying to help. I'm your host, Brent Ulrich. Today, I'm very excited to talk about something very topical right now. Name, image, and likeness, and the associated services that Mauldin Jenkins can provide. Obviously topical. We've got college football season going, and that goes hand in hand now with NIL and what is it? You know, who all's benefiting from it. And excited to have Mr. Doug Moses here, who leads the NIL Advisory Team. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, Brent. Thanks.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing on everybody's mind is, hey, NIL advisory services, what does that mean? And really, why is Mauldin Jenkins, why do they want to get into this area?
Yeah, sure. So, when I think about NIL and the opportunities it can present to a lot of families, it's huge, it's tremendous. And I can see myself in the shoes of a lot of these young athletes, coming out of high school. I played 3 sports, ran track, played football, and played basketball. Entered my freshman year in 89 and graduated in 92. But going into high school, my brother went off to the military in 87 after he graduated. And so it was just me and my mom. And so again, playing 3 sports, everything was going well my freshman year. And in my sophomore year, my mother became disabled after having a nasty fall, and she couldn't work anymore. And so she was, drawing on her unemployment benefits, and I was getting child support, as well. So that kind of stabilized things. And going into my junior year, I started getting letters from D1 schools like University of Tennessee.
Not to brag or anything.
I know, Ole Miss, yeah. And so I was getting excited about the opportunity to go to college and play football. And, at that time, my mother was trying to get her Social Security benefits or her disability benefits started, but she kept getting denied. But I'm like, okay, hopefully it'll get approved before I get into my senior year. But unfortunately, it got denied again and again, and to the point where I kind of gave up. I was getting a ton of letters. And it got to the point where if I got a letter when I saw an envelope with a university's name on it, I didn't even open it. I just threw it away.
Yeah.
And then by that time, my mother's unemployment benefits ran out, and we started to get behind on some bills. And so I knew I had to forego going to college and to start working immediately after graduation from high school. And so I remember having to pick up 2 jobs, and I remember, going to the tobacco field and working, from 7 to in the morning to 1 o'clock, and coming home and taking a shower and eating and taking a little quick nap before I went to another town, 30 miles away from my home, to work on the shipping dock at Walmart Distribution Center. And it was tough.
Yeah.
And I remember during the fall when football season started, and Friday nights were tough. And I wanted to be out there on that football field. I had, classmates that went off to college, and some were playing sports, and I had some friends that were still in high school playing. And until those first 3 to 4 weeks were tough.
Yeah.
But could you imagine if we had NIL back then?
Well, that's what I'm thinking, right? I mean, you had to forego the opportunity of, college scholarships, playing the sports, right?
Yeah.
Because hey, I've got obligations here, and fast forward to now.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you could have done both, right? And so I think it's a good lesson of just like, hey, now there's an opportunity there. And
right.
We want to help, the athletes. We want to help the parents to navigate that opportunity as best they can, right?
Right. And, so that would have been a huge blessing, right, if we had that back then. But I probably would have made the same pitfalls, went into the same pitfalls that a lot of these families and student athletes are going through, not realizing that, hey, you can't spend the gross amount that you're receiving monthly buying cars and, buying houses and things of that nature. And then the next year you get hit with an IRS notification that you owe $100,000 in taxes.
Yeah.
And that's what's hurting a lot of people. And that's where we come in as trusted advisor, help you navigate through those NIL situations and the risks associated with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Every time I kind of take a step back, right, of when I hear so-and-so is making this much money, and then well, they're still teenagers, right? They're still, I think back to when I was in high school, it's like, I have no concept of taxes. Nobody told me how to file taxes when I was 18 years old, right? So there's got to be an element of, hey, teaching people, helping people, financial literacy, all that. And I assume that's kind of what Mauldin Jenkins is looking to provide. Right?
Exactly. You want the student athlete to focus on their academics, focus on their sport, protecting their reputation, right?
Sure.
And not have to worry about managing the NIL, the money, the income, the taxes, and all of that. They need to know the basic financial literacy, and that's what we can help educate them and their parents on.
Yeah. Well, without going into too much detail, so what are some examples of the way that we can help, people coming into this world? Right?
Yeah, sure. Well, I first would say that if anyone, the first thing to do is, whether you're in high school or in middle school or elementary school, right, playing a sport, the parents should make sure that the kids are building their content, right? Highlighting the highlight reels, show their training, their speed and agility and things of that nature, and to kind of keep that going, And so you want to build that name, image, and likeness, right? And build that content. So they want to make sure they're doing that first and foremost, but then also, start trying to build that team around you, build on those relationships even before receiving an NIL deal. And so we would come in, and if you engage us to, help you all, we like to sit down with the parent or the leader guardian along with that student athlete. And always would recommend, especially before they receive any type of NIL deal, is to sit down with our wealth manager first and do a financial roadmap, which is a free consultation, a 90-minute discussion that's kind of going over what their goals are, whether they see themselves and what they want to accomplish in the next several years. And then from there, kind of start bringing in other experts from Mauldin Jenkins to talk about, hey, let's do some financial literacy and education on what to expect about taxes, setting up the proper legal entity for your brand, for your NIL, things of that nature.
Yeah, well, I mean, you like everything you're talking about, right? It's like, again, we're talking about just these kids are young, like it's got to be so overwhelming,
right,
to them, right? Okay, so it's I think let's take a step back and it's like, okay, I'm a junior or a sophomore in high school, like I'm getting recruited. I feel like there's some NIL in my future, so I've got my first NIL deal on the horizon. Okay. Step one is, hey, let's go get a financial, kind of roadmap plan for me, NIL and after, right? Okay. Kind of walk me through what the next few years look like. I'm getting some NIL money, maybe, how do I operate, or what can we take off the plate of that student? Right?
Yeah, sure. So, again, after sitting down with them to go through that financial roadmap, we sit down and say, okay, let's look at what a potential contract will look like, right? And it's at a high level, not get into the weeds, and make sure the parents kind of understand as well, because we want to give them the confidence so that they don't feel overwhelmed, right? And so sitting down with them to kind of go through it in layman's terms on what things would look like, and also how to structure their legal entity, right? And what the tax implications would be. But one of the biggest things is to kind of talk to them about thinking long term, not short term. This is not, get the deal, get the cash, and it's the end of the story.
Right.
It's looking long term and make sure they have that foundation that is going to sustain them for success in the future, beyond their playing days. And so just kind of give them that financial literacy and make sure the parents kind of understand that as well. Because again, the parents are the ones that are kind of guiding them, but they don't know what they don't know. And so our job is to make sure they're comfortable, and so that they're not overwhelmed, as well as the student athlete. Because again, it can be very stressful for a student student athlete to kind of worry about their academics, worry about learning the playbook and excelling at a high level in their sport, and then trying to manage this as well.
Sure.
And so we want to relieve them of that pressure and stress. And hey, we got this for you. Yeah. We're your trusted advisors. Lean on us.
Yeah. And you kind of hit on it earlier. It's like, hey, this has to start pretty early. Like, you got to protect your brand. You got to protect your intellectual property, so to speak, is kind of my name and my face.
Right.
And the earlier you do that, right,
the
better it's going to be for you down the road. And, even after NIL, right?
Right.
So it's really just, creating that roadmap, making sure you're legally structured right, tax structured right. Is there any other aspects, that we need to be thinking of, accounting or, anything else right down the road?
Sure. So one of the things that Guardian Wealth Management is an affiliate of Mauldin Jenkins. Mm-hmm. And they would sit down with them to do that financial roadmap. And then the next step would be to put together like a financial plan for the parents or the legal guardian and that student athlete. And one of the things they do is, it's not just about, okay, you got a $2 million, NIL deal, and we're going to manage that for you. It's more than that. So they're going to sit down with you and say, okay, you got this $2 million NIL deal on the horizon. Okay, let's look at insurance, or look at a will. Do you have a will? Yeah. And your parents may have one or may not, but you as this student athlete with this $2 million NIL deal, you need to have
a little protection that you probably,
a lot of risk
know about. Yeah.
So you look at life insurance, you look at a will, you look at whether or not you have an umbrella policy, which you definitely need, because if you're involved in an accident and they find out that you're the star, running back for the University of Georgia with a $2 million NIL deal, they're going to come after you personally.
Right.
And so having that umbrella policy will protect you. Long-term disability insurance. Are you thinking about that? What if you get hurt and you can't play anymore? And so those are the things that you would look at when you sit down and have that financial plan kind of put together through Guardian Wealth Management. And so there's some things there that would definitely set that person up for success, not just as they're going into their collegiate career and with the NIL money and what have you, but as a professional athlete or not. You starting your career in whatever degree that you decide to go and pursue and for years to come.
Yeah. So in other words, we're trying to help you grow you and your wealth, not just necessarily, it's not just NIL. It's
right.
It's, hey, after this or, to protect this, but you're going to develop some skills along the way. Right.
Yeah. And so, I look at it that, hey, after you're done playing whatever sport it is that you're playing and you start various businesses, right? Let's say that you create a franchise and now you have a private equity firm wants to buy your business. And so, hey, you come to us and say, hey, I don't know what my business is worth. Well, we provide transaction advisory services so we can do evaluation of your business to determine what it's worth. So many different services that we provide to a lot of our clients. We're just bundling them up specifically to help these young athletes. And so, I think about it like this, like I said, we have all kind of clients. We've been around for over 100 years providing audit, advisory, tax services. And again, whereas entrepreneurs, closely held family businesses, auditing different companies in different industries, the whole 9 yards, right? And so some of these clients we may just provide tax services for. Others we may provide more than just tax, fractured CFO services, tax controversial services and things of that nature. And so as you scale as a young athlete, way past your playing years and starting these businesses, we scale with you.
Yep.
We can help you with all of your challenges and needs and things of that nature.
Yep. Well, I think to me, that's the biggest thing. And that's what I read a lot about, right? It's like when you're going through it as a student athlete, there's a lot more on your plate. And especially but there are a lot of skills you don't realize you're learning, right? And you become very entrepreneurial through this process.
Yep.
And M&J is a great place to, we support entrepreneurs effectively, and, that skill set really ties in So you don't really notice until, hey, maybe your playing days are over, right? But oh, wow, I've got, I know how to build kind of a business and a
Right.
brand, and that's going to help me in the future. And now I've got all these relationships
Exactly.
to help me do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember watching the interview with Marshawn Lynch, the running back for the Seattle Seahawks.
Love that guy.
Yeah. I remember seeing that interview, and he said he never had a bank account until he got drafted, in the NFL. That was the craziest thing.
Outrageous.
And so they had this financial literacy thing for the rookies. And so for like the first 45 minutes, he said he sat back with his feet propped up, wasn't really paying attention, right? And so the consultant had a list of names on the board. He said, what is common between all of these individuals? So those people that played in the NFL, NBA, and what have you. And so someone said, oh, they're all Hall of Famers. He said, that's true. He said, but they also went broke. They made millions of dollars and went broke. Now Marshawn Lynch sits up and started asking questions. And the consultant says, so where were you the last 45 minutes when we were talking about all this? He said, I'm sorry. He said, just tell me what I need to do so that I don't end up on this list. And he said that was a turning point for him. And then that's when he built
His team.
Yeah. Trusted advisors, CPAs, attorneys, wealth managers. And he's doing also now with multiple businesses. He's acting, and he's doing great because he has that team that he leans on.
Yeah. So who all's on that team, right? I mean, you kind of have, I would say, you've got your business team, your accountants, your tax advisors, your wealth advisors. Anybody else? I mean, obviously there's an agent in there. I mean, we're all collaborating together.
Exactly. So you may have a specific sports management agent that you're working with, and then we can collaborate with them. They may work more specifically with the NIL deal, but we can look at that, review that contract as well. Let's look at, okay, what are the tax implications? Do you have the right legal entity set up? Based on that, are you really not making sure that you're not, signing up for obligations that you really can't meet? Or giving away, rights to your name and image on a long-term basis.
Yeah.
And so kind of help protect you and collaborate with others as well.
Or just overwhelming yourself, right? And, I think you can probably get in a situation where you're saying yes to too many things, and now you're taken away from, your duties on the field or in school. And, I think that team can, maybe take a step back and say, whoa, maybe we're doing a little too much. Let's focus on the big picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, in terms of the Mauldin Jenkins team, I mean, what, in your eyes, what sets us apart from anybody else providing these services?
Oh yeah, like I said, we've been around for a long time, right? And we have built out our advisory services, and we just cover so many different facets that we help clients for years now. And again, just having that bundled up specifically to help these young kids at an early age and their parents. And so again, it can be, let's say if someone decided to, kind of deal with the NIL on their own, the parents, the legal guardians, and that student athlete. And again, now you're in it. I got to pay all these taxes and things of that nature. I didn't set up a legal entity and things of that nature. So you didn't come to us in the beginning, but we can step in now and kind of, jump in with all of our experts to kind of make sure to get you on the right track. And that's key.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, with the tax controversial services, and having the tax attorney partner here at the firm that does really well with getting, penalties and interest notified, voided, or what have you, and then work with coming up with a repayment plan.
Yeah.
Versus, a situation I heard a young man, ended up in that situation and spent all of his money and then realized he had to pay taxes at 37% based on his amount that he received. And so he didn't have the money to pay it. And so he actually had to go to someone to borrow the money to pay it.
Yeah.
But had he, been with us, like, no, you don't have to do that. We can work out a repayment plan. We'll get the interest and penalties kind of voided and again, kind of work with you to kind of get a better structure and system in place.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the big takeaway there is, right, as soon as with growth comes added complexity, right? And yeah, especially when you start crossing state lines and maybe you owe taxes to different states, or you're licensing T-shirts. Now all of a sudden you're in the business of selling goods. I mean, it can get out of hand very quickly. And I think, Mauldin Jenkins can really help at least, tackle that, address the issues, and set you up for success down the road. Right?
Exactly. And so, yeah, I mean, like you said, with the bookkeeping services, we can handle that. If you decide to, create a team of people that you're paying, we can do the payroll processing for you as well. So, fracture CFO services if needed, if you get that big.
Yeah, if you're really it's like, hey, I really want some real CFO level insights into my my T-shirt biz.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really fun stuff. And I think had I been more athletic, I guess I would have been excited about that as a 20, 21-year-old of just like, hey, I didn't realize that growing a business could be this fun.
Right. Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like I said, doing that at an early age, man, and building those relationships. You hear it all the time. It's a little cliche. Your network is your net worth. It'll build your net worth.
Mm-hmm.
And as it's so true. That's things that I've learned along the way. Relationships matters, and networking internally within your organization, and then externally as well. But building that team that you can lean on is crucial.
Yeah.
But these individuals, they have to realize, and parents as well, it's long term. It's long term thinking and investing, and it's not short term. When I was in high school, I don't remember a lot of quotes, right? But my math teacher told me, she said, Doug, she said, when you go off to college and you start your career, there'll be times where you're going to have to postpone self-gratification until you reach your goals. And I'm 52 years old, and I still do that now in different aspects of my life. And so if these kids can realize, like, okay, I think long term, right? If I'm lucky to make it to the NFL, what's the average career? I don't know.
3 years, I think.
3 years? Something really
maybe
low.
less.
Yeah. And so you got to be very wise about how you spend your money, and then also your reputation and what you post on social media and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta protect your brand, your name, and that's key.
What else? I mean, we've talked a lot about, hey, you got to get a plan together. You got to get a team, trying to basically lift the weight of NIL and the business side of it off the athletes so they can focus on, what they need to focus on. I mean, is there any other things they need to be thinking about? Like, how else can we help them? Or is that kind of that's the process?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times people don't think about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
As it relates to what these young athletes are going through. I heard of an individual, again, 5-star player, went to a D1 school, pretty significant NIL deal. And a mutual friend that I know was talking with this individual, and he told her, like, everything is fine in the classroom, everything is great on the football field. He said, but I'm struggling mentally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having to see a psychiatrist, just to deal with all of this stuff. And so one thing I do like about Guardian Wealth Management, again, they do more than just manage investments and things of that nature. They help you manage life decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they look at it as well is your health, and which includes physical and mental.
Yeah.
And so they identify in their little touch point meetings with these individuals, like, okay, you're going through these issues. Here's what you can do to kind of help from that perspective.
Yeah.
And so it's a holistic approach to everything that's going to benefit that person and on a long-term basis.
Yeah, that's been my favorite part about partnering with Guardian, is it's just been, hey, how are you doing?
Right.
Like, it's not, hey, how's your money doing?
Exactly.
It's like,
Exactly.
let's make sure you're doing good and you
Yeah.
feel comfortable with everything that's
Yeah.
happening. As far as kind of the NIL landscape, right? How do you feel like it's looking in the next couple of years? I mean, any substantial changes, or are we just going to kind of keep seeing more and more money come into the fold?
Well, there's always going to be some changes. They're going to change some of the requirements and things of that nature. And so having a team that's going to stay on top of that and being able to translate what those changes are how they're gonna impact these individuals and their parents and student athletes and things of that nature. And I think M&J does a really good job about, regardless of what industry that we're in, anything that comes down the pipe, we do our research, we see how it's going to impact our clients, and then we'll keep them abreast of how that's going to affect them.
Yeah.
And so that's what we'll do in this space as well.
Yeah. And it's great to be able to apply just, not just NIL industry, expertise, but hey, if I've got a tax opportunity, savings opportunity for any client, well, I can go apply it here. Like you get the benefit of, an entire wealth of knowledge, not just in the NIL industry. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think we've gotten a good plan together, right? I mean, so hey, if there's one thing that a student or a parent needs to take away from this, what do you think the overarching is? Like, I'm about to sign up for NIL, or I'm there, or I've been a few years into it. What do I need to, what's the one thing to take away from that?
I would say, keep learning, right? Start learning now, right? And that's a continuous process. Lean and trust your advisors. So lean on your trusted advisors and think long term. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Think long term. Again, that quick cash. Like most people, when they think of, oh, I make $100,000, they think that they're bringing home $100,000. That's not the case. And again, so just think long term and how to create a legacy. And that's what we want to see. The reward for me is to get a young student athlete early in high school before they even sign an NIL deal, see them graduate from college debt free, and they've had some financial literacy and education that they can take with them throughout their life. See them have a successful career on the professional level.
Yeah.
Start businesses and see them create a legacy, generational wealth,
Yeah.
and then engage in philanthropy, giving back. That's the success that I would like to see. That would be very rewarding to see that.
Yeah. And that's even one of the things we haven't even touched on, right? Is success for your family.
Yeah.
And, generational planning. And I think we provide that as well. Too,
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's not just you and your tenure as this, but it's, hey, what about your kids and your grandkids, and making sure, hey, we've got you set up, as many generations as we can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I'm a client of Garden Wealth Management. I am a client of Mauldin Jenkins. I'm into real estate investing, and M&J does my business return on that LLC side. And so, and again, my wife and I are clients of Garden Wealth Management. So I've gone through the financial roadmap. I've done the financial plan, and I'm still in the process of getting my financial house in order as far as getting trust set up and doing estate planning. And so that's key, And so again, if they're experiencing this at an earlier age, I'm now trying to do estate planning at 52, and my wife is 48. And so they're getting this experience and this exposure at an earlier age, and that's going to pay in huge dividends.
That's right. Well, just like in sports, right?
Yeah.
Hey, practice more. The more you practice on the front end, the better it's going to be for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and you hit on it earlier. It's hey, a successful client and relationship is, hey, we just want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
And, we want to be that partner and help you along the way. And that means success in life, not just success in NIL.
Right.
Anything else to take away?
Hey, we're here to provide assistance and help. We're just very excited about this. And like I said, I can relate to a lot of things that some of these young athletes are going through, although I didn't, play sports in college. But I did have a somewhat redemption because I did an internship in France for 7 months and played at the semi-level while I was there in basketball.
There you go.
So
Okay.
that's pretty cool.
It's not nothing.
But I was going to try out for basketball when I was at Georgia Southwestern State University my freshman year, and I had a chance to go to college after my mother got her disability benefit started. But in the pickup game, I ended up breaking my ankle, and so
Basketball's tough. I hurt my back when I was 25 playing basketball, and that was the end of my basketball career.
yeah, I was like, oh well, I just focus on my academics. I think I made it pay off.
Yeah, worked out.
It worked out.
But had it worked out on the basketball field, Mauldin Jenkins would have been here to take care of you.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it's been great talking. I love that we're doing this. You know, I think especially just from where it's coming from, right? I mean, we really want to help, young student athletes. We want to help their families and just set them up for success, for forever.
Forever, exactly.
So thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
And thank everybody listening for joining us. Please do reach out to Doug and the NIL Advisory Services team for any questions you might have. And again, thank you for joining us.